Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today we are exploring a really fascinating lesson from the empowered homefront community.
Yeah, and it tackles a huge fear for homeschool parents, right? Or,
Right.
I mean, anyone trying to teach a new skill, honestly.
Exactly. Like, how do you actually know if a child is learning if you don't use, traditional tests or report cards?
Right, which is tough to let go of.
It really is. So
Yeah.
that's our mission today, to decode their completely stress-free approach to assessing knowledge. Because if you think about the traditional schooling mindset, it kind of feels like a rigid quality control factory.
Oh, totally. A factory where every single thought has to have a graded barcode slapped on it.
Yes. Like
Yeah.
every piece of homework needs a stamp before it can roll off the assembly line. So whether you are a parent or like a manager or just trying to master something yourself, how do you really know if knowledge stuck without a formal exam?
Well, that factory model relies super heavily on binary outcomes, like a 90% is a pass and a 60 is a fail.
Yeah, but that mostly just measures test-taking ability, right?
Mm. Exactly. So this material forces us to fundamentally redefine what successful learning even looks like.
But wait, if we just completely ditch the tests and the worksheets, aren't we just flying blind? I mean, my immediate fear is that we need some sort of metric.
Sure, and the empowered homefront source draws a really hard line here between testing and assessment.
Okay, how so?
So testing is just looking for the right answer on a piece of paper, which mostly relies on short-term recall, but true assessment is observing whether the learner can actually use the knowledge.
Oh, I see. So the metric shifts entirely from memorization to utility.
Exactly.
It's kind of like checking if a software update worked by, actually opening and using the app rather than just staring at lines of code.
That is a great analogy. We definitely need tools that measure real-world application. And applying that software analogy to the empowered homefront material, they actually outline 3 conversational methods to test for bugs in real life.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the first one?
So the first is the teach back. You basically ask the learner to explain the concept to you as if you are a total beginner.
Which forces them to synthesize the information. I mean, they can't just parrot back definitions. They have to translate the concept into their own words.
Right, which reveals immediately if there are gaps in their understanding. It exposes the illusion of competence.
The illusion of competence. I love that.
Yeah, and then to handle the issue of time, they use the week later check.
So not right after the lesson.
Exactly. Instead of quizzing someone right after the lesson when the information is still, sitting in their short-term working memory, you wait a few days and then you just casually bring it up in conversation.
Got it. So you are testing if the knowledge actually made the jump into long-term storage. So that covers time and retention, but, well, what about context?
How do you mean?
Like, how do we know they aren't just reciting a script they memorized?
Well, that brings in the new situation method. You ask them to connect past lessons to present-day, real-world events.
Taking a concept out of its original box, basically.
Yeah, and applying it to an entirely different scenario. It forces the brain to prove, it grasps the underlying mechanics, not just the surface details.
Okay, but my instinct here as a parent or a manager would be to immediately jump in and correct them if they mess up a teach back, or if they apply the concept completely wrong. Doesn't staying quiet let them internalize incorrect information?
You would think so, but correcting them immediately actually causes these conversational methods to backfire.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because the goal of this phase isn't to fix the error, it's to map the extent of their understanding. If you jump in and shut them down, they will stop sharing their thought process.
And then you lose visibility into how their mind is even working.
Exactly. The lesson really emphasizes creating a judgment-free zone. Parents are encouraged to just listen and ask probing questions like, tell me more about that, or what makes you think that?
So you are digging into the mechanics of their logic rather than just judging the final output.
Right. The source material summarizes this beautifully. It says, your child's mistakes aren't failures, they're data.
Wow. Mistakes are data.
Yeah, those mistakes simply flag which specific concepts need another pass, rather than labeling the learner as a failure.
Treating mistakes as data completely shifts the dynamic from a stress-inducing classroom to a natural learning environment.
It totally does.
It really highlights the core empowered homefront ethos that education doesn't have to recreate traditional school to be effective. In fact, they specifically claim you can build an effective homeschooling routine in just 90 minutes a day.
Which is incredible.
Right. And you can actually find that outlined at empoweredhomefront.com/homeschool.
It is just a completely different paradigm once you step away from that factory model of education.
It really is.
Mm.
And if we break out of that factory model and accept that errors are just data, well, it leaves us with a fascinating question for our everyday lives.
Well, what's that?
How would treating your own daily blunders as a judgment-free teachback change the way you navigate your adult life and career?